Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This time we're looking at 5 things that we learned from that chaotic Chelsea game. I know it was a few days ago now, but we still have to talk about it. It was absolutely mental. So much to go over, so much to take, and of course it's the international break, so I think we're looking for some content anyway, something to talk about, aren't we? So I'm going to linger onto that Chelsea game for a tiny bit longer. Of course, I did a big old podcast yesterday with Asan from 9320. That was wonderful stuff. Go and check it out if you haven't already. We dived deep into loads of subjects and what this could potentially mean, and loads more questions. But today these are 5 things that I took from this game. Not an exhaustive list as always, but still something I felt deserved attention, these topics. The first thing I'm going to talk about is Phil Foden. And mate, I absolutely love Phil Foden. Guys, this guy right now is maturing to a level that we'd all hoped for an awful long time. Pep has talked time and time again about this need for Phil to just sort of compose himself and grow into the game and understand that he has to be the main man. And I think we're seeing that now. In the absence of Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, of course, Mahrez has left as well. We've had Sterling and Jesus leave recently. Of course, no John Stones in the team. We're seeing senior players leave at a frequent level these days. I think we need Phil Foden to step up, and I think now we're finally seeing the signs of that. I think it takes an awful long time to be able to fulfill what Guardiola needs in a team to the highest potential level. You talked about John Stones taking several years to finally see the full picture around him and step into midfield, and I compare that to Phil Foden as well, because I think Phil... Look, he's been around forever, but he's only 23 years old. And I think sometimes it does take several seasons or whatever, or time to grow and mature as an individual, as an adult, as a footballer, as a human, all these things, to start to see where you fit into this side. And I think Phil right now knows that he is absolutely crucial to this Manchester City side. I think we all sense that this is Phil's time to really step up and make that spot his own. And I think there's a maturity to his game right now that it's just absolutely pouring from him. It's so good to see him take the game by the scruff of the neck. Of course, he didn't quite get a goal or assist, but he was involved, of course, in one of the goals with the pass to Alvarez, then to Haaland. He dribbling out of tight spaces, lovely bits of skill. His pass retention was absolutely fantastic. Involved in all that City did that was good going forward. And once again, has to play a relatively new role this season. This is what Phil is capable of. And I do think eventually Guardiola was right. He will get to that point when he could play as a number 6. Not that he needs him or wants him to, more that he'll be able to play there and understand the patterns of the game. And I think that's what I'm excited to see. Phil Foden reached that level where, he is potentially the main guy, and I can't wait to see it. And the next thing I want to talk about is Manchester City lacking composure. Look, I watched that game, and firstly, of course, we're crying out for John Stones, but the game was so chaotic. It was so end-to-end that you think that isn't really Manchester City. We are not that kind of team. We are composed. We keep ourselves together. But this wasn't that. This was just a slugfest. And I think we've seen that a few times this season where it looked a little bit open in the middle. Naturally, it comes from lacking John Stones. It comes from maybe the experience of Kevin De Bruyne not being there, even if he is direct. He is still better at the passing thing than Alvarez. And I think, of course, that's the first time I've really felt that we missed Ilkay Gundogan massively. Gundogan, of course, we're going to miss in more ways because that pauser he's got, that ability to link the defence to midfield to attack. But we are lacking that composure right now, and I think we are, and I do wonder how we're going to find a way around that, especially with Liverpool coming up, because look, we've got quality, but we definitely lack a little bit of the coolness that we used to have under pressure, and I think Guardiola can sense that too. I think he's sort of tried to sacrifice, look, knowing that we've lost a bit of that, got a bit of that. He's gone for attacking with Alvarez, with no De Bruyne. He's gone for what Alvarez can bring in terms of moments of magic and goals and assists, because we've got no De Bruyne. But I think without Stones there, in particular, it becomes too much. And Alvarez, I love him, but I feel like maybe we have to start playing actual midfielders there, maybe for big games, because I feel like it's a bit too chaotic. Maybe I'm wrong there, and we'll see what Pep does. But right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Guardiola's looking at the transfer market and thinking, do we go back in? Do we look for someone else potentially to help to link the defence once again to the midfield attack? We used to have somebody who could do that. We used to have, obviously Fernandinho, Rodri. We had David Silva sorta. We had obviously Gundogan. Bernardo can do it a bit, but we're losing players who can do that right now, and we'll have to see a change potentially. Akanji, can we talk about Manuel Akanji for 15 million pounds, whatever it was? One of the bargains of Manchester City's decade. Genuinely, absolutely fantastic. Surrounded by idiocy, if we're being honest, on Sunday. I love some of those players. I love all those players actually, but too many had a really poor game. Too many, like Diaz, Walker, Vardiol. Even Edison made a mistake, I would argue, with the chance. He was surrounded by chaos, but despite that, Akanji stepped up. He had an excellent game, completing loads of his passes, barely put a foot wrong that way. Of course, scoring a lovely header as well. A perfect sliding tackle when Nico Jackson went through and goal. Akanji continues to prove that there is value in the market, and Akanji shows you that not every signing has to be a superstar, and that Cheeky does know what he's doing, man. Akanji, a player often maligned by some of our fans who want perfection at all points. We've got a £14 million player who's so versatile, learning so many roles at 28. He's an immense professional and has that winning mentality. He was asked after the game, "Are you happy with that result?" And he said no. No, they wanted to win, and I love that. Akanji is that guy. It really is, and he's getting better and better and better. A fantastic player. One that I can't wait to see develop more under Guardiola, because I think he will. Only 28 years old. I know it sounds like old, but in Guardiola terms, it isn't. That's when Fernandinho, I think, joined Manchester City, and look how good he got over time. We'll see what he can do finally, but Akanji, quality player who's stepping up every single time. The fourth thing we learned is that Pep just can't control everything. As much as we want him to, I think even he sometimes accepts that sometimes football will run away from you. And I know I talked about composure earlier, which I do think we lack, but even when you have that composure, sometimes a game ends up like this. Sometimes it ends up just one of those things where you just have to somehow see it through and go toe-to-toe and fight punch for punch and just try and survive it. You can't control everything. Football, there's too many games in football for them all to be perfectly controlled and boxed off and neat and tidy. That's just not how it works, It's not how it works at all. And we couldn't control this game. It was far too chaotic, and Pep sort of just let into it. I'm surprised he makes some more changes, but I think he understood the momentum of this game, and sometimes you just have to accept what you're witnessing and go through it. He said that apparently after Rodri scored that he still expected something else to happen because it's just that kind of game, and he wasn't wrong there. Maybe he could have let into it and probably brought in some defenders or something like that, but sometimes you got to accept that football is just that kind of game. It's a crazy game, and usually we handle these things well, but there's always a game like that every season. There was last season, I think Newcastle 3-0 away last season. Sometimes you just have a moment of madness. It's going to happen. Football, players get tired, players get caught out in the weather when it's cold and wet, they get caught in the occasion, the crowd kind of gets going, and you just got to follow. And once again, you got to admire the fact that City still managed to come away with a point when Chelsea were looking confident. That's probably the best Chelsea played all season, and they were really up for it. Finally, we got to talk about it, the one that got away. Look, I know we'll be fine without Cole Palmer, but there's a reason I was so upset when he left, and so many people told me I was overreacting, that he would never be good enough, and maybe you still feel that way, but Cole Palmer is clearly an excellent footballer. Cole Palmer should still be at Manchester City Football Club, and I know he went by his own choice. But I just wish somehow the circumstances could have been different. I do think we're going to see more and more of this where, not every player that leaves Manchester City Football Club isn't good enough for Manchester City Football Club. It's that simple. Football isn't that simple. Cole Palmer is absolutely good enough to play for City. And I love Oscar Bob. I really do. But I think we're kidding ourselves if we think he's as ready as Cole Palmer is right now. He isn't. Cole Palmer is much more ready. And Oscar Bob could be there eventually. Maybe just as much talent. But I would much rather have Cole Palmer right now because he's better in terms of his current progression. And I think Cole is showing what he can do with a run of games and a little bit of trust and confidence. Look, I'm not going to cry over it. I'm not saying City were wrong. I'm just sort of lamenting that he is one that got away. And I think we're going to see more and more of this. I do think that young, talented lads like Cole Palmer, I want to see young local lads in the team. I do. And I know he's a United fan. I know that. We all know that. But he still cared about his club, clearly. And his choice of place to be was at Manchester City Football Club. But he felt, for whatever reason, that he wasn't going to get as much chances. And I do think, I saw the quotes from Pep, and he said that he's got a chance. But I do think, I wish maybe the wording had been a little bit more, no, you are the replacement for Mahrez. You are going to get loads of chances. Not that he's got a chance to maybe break through. And I know Pep would never guarantee that, and maybe I'm just wishing for everything and want my cake and eat and all that kind of stuff. But I do feel quite strongly about it. I think it does mean a lot, and I think we're going to see it more. There'll be other players, maybe Lavia when he breaks through will do really well at Chelsea after he's got back from injury, and I think we're going to regret maybe one or two more. And maybe there'll be a positive of it. Maybe we'll start to go, actually, I don't want that 30 million because he'll end up a £70 million player anyway. But either way, I want to say congrats, of course, to Cole Palmer, an excellent player. liked by the staff and so on. He's doing really well now in the England squad, and I feel sort of justified for my reaction when we sold him. And of course, Rico Lewis joins him there. Look, times are great, but we are going to miss some players sometimes. Anyway, guys, they are the 5 things that I took from this game. Let me know, of course, down in the comments what you took from it. A rare non-live video, mainly because the sun is napping, so I thought, you know what, I'll try and get a video in. It's worked perfectly well so far. Foden is maturing. We do like composure. Akanji is stepping up, and sometimes you can't control everything, and Cole Palmer was the one that got away. Thank you for watching this video. Check out the podcast with Asan yesterday. Like, subscribe, catch you on a bit. Up the Blues, treble winners.